everyone, and welcome back to the English Phrases Hub podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jake. Thanks for tuning in. Whether you're a longtime listener or this is your first episode, we're really glad you're here.
Today's episode is all about something we can all relate to: family and relationships. We'll talk about how to describe your family members in English, introduce someone, and even share personal stories about the people closest to you.
Yep, we'll cover useful vocabulary like siblings, in-laws, and phrases like get along with or take after someone. You'll also learn how to talk about relationships, romantic, friendly, and everything in between.
And don't worry, this isn't a grammar-heavy lesson. It's all about practical English you can use every day, like when someone asks, "Tell me about your family," or "Who are you closest to in your family?"
Exactly. And just to kick things off, here's a fun question. Emma, who do you take after most in your family, your mom or your dad?
Ooh, that's easy. I take after my mom. We both love to talk, we laugh at the same silly jokes, and we even have the same smile. What about you?
Definitely my dad. We're both quiet, love books, and, well, we're both early birds. No one else in my house is awake at 6 a.m. but us.
See, that's what we mean. Little phrases like take after, get along with, or be close to are super useful when talking about family. And today, we'll break them all down with examples, stories, and a fun role play.
Plus, we'll answer a great listener question and give you a speaking challenge at the end. So stick around and let's jump in.
All right, let's get started with some useful vocabulary for today's topic. We've got 10 words and phrases that you'll hear in today's conversation and role play.
We'll go through them one by one, explain what they mean, and give you a quick example. If you can, try to repeat them out loud after us to practice your pronunciation.
Okay, here's the first one. Siblings. These are your brothers and sisters. Example, I have 3 siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Number 2, in-laws. This refers to the family of your husband or wife, like your mother-in-law, father-in-law, or sister-in-law. Example, my in-laws are coming over for dinner tonight.
Number 3, extended family. This includes aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, everyone beyond your immediate family. Example, we have a big extended family gathering every summer.
Number 4, get along with. This means to have a good relationship with someone. Example, I really get along with my cousin. We talk all the time.
Number 5, take after. This means you are similar to someone in your family in looks, personality, or habits. Example, she takes after her dad. They're both very organized.
Number 6, close-knit. This describes a family or group that is very close and supportive. Example, my family is really close-knit. We talk every day.
Number 7, single parent. A person who raises a child alone without a partner. Example, he grew up in a single-parent household.
Number 8, only child. Someone who doesn't have any brothers or sisters. Example, I'm an only child, so I spent a lot of time with my parents.
Number 9, married, divorced, or widowed. These are relationship status words. Example, my uncle is divorced. Example, my grandparents have been married for 50 years.
Number 10, childhood. The time when you were a child. Example, my childhood was full of fun family holidays.
You'll hear most of these in our dialogue today, so try to remember a few and think about how they relate to your own life.
And if you're using the transcript, you can highlight or write down the ones you didn't know before. All right, ready for a bit of grammar? Let's move on to today's grammar spotlight. We're keeping it simple and super useful. We're focusing on possessive adjectives and how to describe people using have and be.
Yep, these are phrases you use every day when you talk about your family. Let's start with possessive adjectives, words like my, your, his, her, our, and their.
Here are a few quick examples. My brother is tall. Her grandmother lives in London. Their parents speak Spanish.
You can use these to talk about anyone in your family. Just remember, my for yourself, your for the person you're speaking to, his or her for one person, our for you and someone else, and their for more than one person.
All right, now let's talk about describing people. We often use two verbs, to have and to be.
We use have for things like, my dad has brown eyes. She has 2 sisters. I have a big family.
And we use be for personality and characteristics. My sister is very friendly. They are quiet. He is funny and smart.
Let's try combining them. Example, my uncle has a beard. He is really kind. Or, her brother has 2 kids. He is married.
Here's a tip. When you describe family members, think of what they have, appearance, things, and what they are, personality, status.
That's right. And don't worry, we'll show you how this works naturally in our upcoming dialogue. Listen for those possessive words and the use of have and be, while Jake and I talk about our families.
Okay, ready for a real-life conversation? Let's dive into the role play.
Okay, so in this next part, Jake and I are going to do a short role play. We're 2 friends catching up at a cafe and talking about our families. As you listen, try to notice the vocabulary and grammar we introduced earlier, especially the words like siblings, get along with, and take after.
Right, and remember, if you have the transcript open, feel free to follow along and don't be afraid to pause and repeat after us.
So, Jake, how is your family doing?
They're good, thanks. My parents just got back from a short trip to the countryside. They love taking weekend breaks.
Nice. How about your sister? What's she up to these days?
She's still living in New York. She's working as a graphic designer now. We text almost every day. We really get along well.
That's great. I don't have any siblings, so I'm kind of an only child. But I'm really close to my cousins. We grew up together.
Yeah, that's cool. Are you more like your mom or your dad?
I think I take after my dad. We both love music and we're super organized. What about you?
I'm a mix. I have my mom's sense of humor, but I definitely got my dad's love for books. Oh, and my little niece? She just started school.
Aw, that's so sweet. Is she your sister's daughter?
Yep, she's 5 now, super curious and always asking questions.
Sounds like someone else I know.
Guilty. What about your parents? Are they retired?
Not yet. My mom still works part-time at the library and my dad teaches math. They're pretty active. We're a close-knit family.
That's awesome. I think having a strong family bond makes such a difference.
Totally agree.
Design. Did you hear some of those key phrases?
We used siblings, only child, take after, get along with, close-knit family, and more. If you missed anything, don't worry, we'll go over some of the vocabulary and cultural tips in just a moment. All right, let's pause for a moment and go a bit deeper. In the conversation you just heard, Jake and I used a few phrases that might sound simple, but they carry a lot of meaning when you think about how family works in different cultures.
Exactly. So let's talk about that. Because in English, when we say things like siblings, in-laws, or extended family, we're not just giving names to people. We're also describing how relationships work, what's considered normal, and sometimes even what's expected of us.
Let's start with something basic, moving out. In many English-speaking countries like the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia, it's pretty common for people to move out of their parents' home when they're around 18 or 19. Sometimes it's for college, sometimes for work, or just for independence.
Yeah, I moved out when I was 19, and I remember it felt like a big step, but in other countries, that would be unusual. In places like India, Italy, or many parts of Latin America, people often live with their parents much longer, even into their 30s, and it's completely normal.
Right. In fact, in some cultures, it's expected. families often live together, not just parents and kids, but grandparents, aunts, uncles, and that's where we get the term extended family. In English, when we say extended family, we mean all the relatives outside your immediate family, which is just your parents and siblings.
And how about responsibilities? In some cultures, family means support, emotional, financial, and even physical. It's very common to help out with childcare, elder care, and even share income. In English-speaking cultures, there's usually a stronger focus on individual independence, though of course that can vary a lot from family to family.
That's true. I remember a student once asked me, why do people in American movies always say, "I love you" to their parents? We don't really say that in my country. We just show it in actions. And that's a great point. In English, especially in the US, saying "I love you" or "I'm proud of you" is more verbal. It's part of the language culture.
Absolutely. And that's why learning a language is about more than just vocabulary and grammar. It's about understanding how people connect and express feelings. For example, someone might say, "We're a close-knit family." That doesn't just mean they live together. It means they trust each other, talk openly, and support each other emotionally.
Let's talk about in-laws too. That's a word that sometimes confuses learners. Your in-laws are your husband or wife's family. So your mother-in-law is your spouse's mom, your sister-in-law is your spouse's sister, or even your brother's wife. It depends on the context.
And here's a cultural tip. In many English-speaking countries, people usually call their in-laws by their first names. So instead of mother-in-law, you might say, "Hi, Susan." But in other cultures, it's more formal. You might say Mrs. or use a title of respect.
And another fun point, in English, we don't really have different words for relatives on the mother side versus the father side. But in other languages, like Arabic, Hindi, or Chinese, you often have completely different terms for those.
Let's also talk about how people describe relationships. For example, in English, we often say things like, "I'm really close to my dad." "I don't get along with my cousin." Or, "My brother and I used to fight a lot, but now we're best friends."
Those phrases, be close to, get along with, used to, they're simple but powerful, and they help you talk about your personal experiences, not just facts.
Exactly. And even though people may have very different family structures or traditions, one thing is true everywhere. Relationships matter. Whether you're an only child, part of a big extended family, or living far from home, how you connect with others shapes your daily life.
So here's a question for our listeners. What's one tradition or relationship custom from your culture that you'd like to share in English?
Maybe your family eats dinner together every night. Maybe you have a holiday where everyone visits grandparents. Or maybe you call your cousin your best friend. Whatever it is, think about how you could describe that in English using some of the vocabulary from today.
And if you're up for it, write it down, say it out loud, or share it with us on social media. We love hearing from you and learning from you too.
All right, instead of jumping into questions, how about we do another role play?
Yes, let's call this one Meeting the Family. And in this scene, Jake is bringing his girlfriend, Emma, to meet his parents for the very first time.
It's a classic situation, full of small talk, polite introductions, and of course, a little bit of pressure.
Exactly. This will help you practice how to introduce someone, describe your family and background, and make a good first impression in English.
So, in this scene, I'm Jake, Emma is my girlfriend, and you'll hear my mom and dad as well. Let's dive in. Okay, deep breath. Ready to meet the parents?
As ready as I'll ever be. Do I have something in my teeth?
Nope, you look perfect. Just be yourself, they're going to love you. Door opens, Jake's mom and dad appear. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I'd like you to meet Emma. Emma, this is my mom, Susan, and my dad, Robert."
It's so nice to meet you both. Jake's told me so much about you. Oh, we've heard a lot about you too, Emma. Welcome. We're happy to finally meet you in person.
Yes, welcome to our home. Please come in and make yourself comfortable.
Thank you. It smells amazing in here. Are you cooking? Oh yes, just making Jake's favorite, lasagna. He said it's your favorite too. It is. That's so thoughtful. I grew up eating lasagna every Friday. It reminds me of home.
Emma's from Toronto. She moved here a couple of years ago. Toronto, lovely city. I went there once on a business trip. So, Emma, what do you do?
I work as a graphic designer for a marketing company downtown. It's creative and every project is different. I love it. That sounds exciting. And what about your family? Are they still in Canada? Yes, they are. I'm the youngest. I have 2 older brothers, and my parents live just outside the city. We're very close. We have a video call every Sunday, no matter what. That's wonderful. Family is so important, isn't it? Absolutely. I was raised in a close-knit family, so staying connected means everything to me.
It's the same for us. Jake is really close to his sister. They text almost every day. Yeah, we've always gotten along. She actually helped me plan this dinner.
She was so excited when she heard you were bringing someone special home. That's really sweet. I'd love to meet her sometime.
I'm sure you will. She's coming by next weekend. Maybe you two can join us for brunch. That sounds great. What do you think, Em?
I'd love that. Thank you so much for making me feel welcome. Of course. We're happy to have you. Now, let's head to the dining room. Dinner's almost ready.
Perfect timing. And just wait till you try Mom's garlic bread.
Now I'm extra excited. And scene. That was a fun one.
And very real. That's the kind of English people actually use in everyday life. Polite greetings, small talk, and showing interest in others.
Exactly. This will help you practice how to introduce someone, describe your family and background, and make a good first impression in English.
So in this scene, I'm Jake, Emma's my girlfriend, and you'll hear my mom and dad as well. Let's go over a few of the useful phrases from that role play. For example, make yourself comfortable or make yourself at home, a polite way to say to a guest.
We've heard a lot about you. A friendly way to show interest when meeting someone new. A close-knit family, a family that stays emotionally close and supports one another. We get along, meaning you have a good relationship with someone.
And also phrases like, she's my girlfriend, or this is my mom. Those are simple but super helpful when introducing people. And did you hear how we used small compliments to break the ice? Like, it smells amazing in here, or that's so thoughtful. These little things make conversations warmer.
Exactly. And the more you practice these conversations, the easier it becomes to feel confident, even in new and formal situations like meeting a partner's family.
So, if you're listening, try to imagine this situation happening in your life. What would you say? How would you describe your job, your family, or where you're from?
And here's a fun idea. Try to recreate this dialogue with a friend, teacher, or language partner. You can even change the names or switch roles.
All right, up next, let's answer a great question from one of our listeners about how to describe family trees in English.
Today we have a fantastic one from Annika in Germany.
Here's Annika's question. How can I describe my family tree in English? Sometimes I get confused with words like cousins, great aunts, and in-laws.
That's a great question, Annika, and one that many learners of English often ask. Describing your family in English can be a bit tricky because there are so many specific words for different family members. But don't worry, once you understand the basic structure, it'll all start to make sense.
Let's break it down. First, we'll start with the immediate family, which includes the people closest to you. Parents, your mom and dad. Simple, right? Siblings, your brothers and sisters. Children, your sons and daughters.
Exactly. These are the people you would live with or the ones you have the closest relationship with. Next, we get into the extended family. That's when things start to get interesting.
Right. So, moving out from the center of your family, you have grandparents, your parents' parents, aunt and uncles, your mom's or dad's brothers and sisters, cousins, the children of your aunts and uncles. So your cousin is, for example, your mom's sister's child.
Now, let's move to the next generation. If you're talking about your great aunt, that's your grandmother's sister. And if you're talking about your great-grandparents, that's your grandparents' parents.
And the great prefix goes on. For example, your great-uncle is your great-grandmother's brother, and your great-cousins would be the children of your great-aunts or great-uncles.
It sounds a bit complicated, but remember, we're just adding great before the regular terms to describe someone from a previous generation. Now, let's talk about in-laws. This is another important part of a family tree.
Exactly. In-laws are the relatives you gain through marriage. For example, your husband's or wife's mother is your mother-in-law. Your husband's or wife's father is your father-in-law. Their siblings are your brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
And here's an example. If your brother marries someone, that person becomes your sister-in-law. If your husband's sister gets married, her husband becomes your brother-in-law. In-laws are people you are related to by marriage, not by blood.
If you want to get a little more specific, you can say maternal for your mother's side of the family and paternal for your father's side of the family. For example, your maternal grandmother is your mom's mom, and your paternal grandfather is your dad's father.
That's a good tip. It's especially helpful if you're talking about a family tree or a family history, and you need to be clear about whether you're talking about your mom's side or your dad's side. You could say something like, on my maternal side, I have 2 aunts, and on my paternal side, I have 1 uncle.
Now, let's put it all together in a conversation. Imagine you're describing your family to a new friend. You might say something like, I have a small family. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. My parents live in another city, and I have a cousin who lives in New York. My aunt and uncle are visiting this weekend. On my mom's side, I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Or you could say, my family is pretty big. I have an older brother and a younger sister. My grandparents are from Italy, and my great-uncle still lives there. My brother is married, and his wife is my sister-in-law. I also have 3 cousins, 2 on my dad's side and 1 on my mom's side.
That's right. You can also say things like, I come from a close-knit family, to describe a family that is very close to one another. Or you could use, my family is spread out across the country, if you don't live close to everyone.
And don't forget, family trees don't just have to be about blood relatives. You can also talk about chosen family, the people you consider family, even though you're not related by blood.
That's true. So you could say, even though we're not related by blood, I consider my best friend my sister.
Great example. So now you should feel more confident describing your family in English. It's all about knowing the terms and using them in the right context.
We hope that answers your question, Annika. And for anyone else listening, remember, family vocabulary can be a little complicated, but with practice, it becomes second nature. If you have more questions, we're always happy to help. Just leave a comment on our YouTube channel.
Thank you for the awesome question, Annika. It's always a pleasure to dive into topics that help you feel more comfortable in everyday conversations.
All right, it's time for one of our favorite parts of the episode, the speaking challenge.
This is where we invite you, the listener, to take what you've learned today and actually speak English. You can do this alone, with a friend, or even send it to us if you'd like.
So, here's today's challenge. Describe 2 members of your family using some of the vocabulary and grammar from today's episode.
You can talk about what they look like, what kind of person they are, what they do, and how you're related. Try using phrases like, I get along with, she takes after, he has, we're really close, she's my cousin on my mom's side.
Here's an example from me. My sister Emily takes after our mom. She's kind, talkative, and super creative. We've always gotten along well, even when we were kids. She has 2 daughters, and I'm their favorite uncle, of course.
Nice. Okay, here's mine. My dad is really calm and patient. He's the kind of person who never raises his voice. He has green eyes and gray hair, and he loves gardening. I take after him in that way. We both enjoy quiet time and nature.
See, it doesn't have to be long or complicated, just 2 or 3 sentences about someone in your family using today's vocabulary. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes.
You can even record yourself and listen back. Or better yet, send us a voice note on Instagram or tag us in a video using the hashtag #EnglishPhrasesHubChallenge. We'd love to feature your responses in a future episode.
And don't worry about making mistakes. That's how we learn. The important thing is to speak and keep practicing.
So go ahead, describe someone special in your family. And if you're feeling extra brave, describe 2 people.
We'll also have this challenge written out in the episode notes, along with a vocabulary list and a few sample answers to help you get started.
All right, we've covered a lot today, so let's go through a full recap before we wrap up, just to make sure everything sinks in.
We started off with some essential family-related vocabulary. Words and expressions you can use in everyday conversations, like siblings, in-laws, extended family, and only child.
We also introduced some really helpful phrases like get along with, take after, and be close to.
These phrases make your English sound more natural and personal.
Then we moved on to some important grammar basics, focusing on how to describe your family clearly and correctly.
We talked about possessive adjectives like my, his, her, our, and their. These are small words, but they're used constantly when you're talking about your family and relationships.
Then we reviewed how to use have and be to talk about appearance and personality. So, for example, she has long hair. He is very funny. These simple structures help you build descriptive sentences with ease.
Next, we brought those words and grammar to life in not just 1, but 2 full role plays. The first was a casual conversation between friends catching up and talking about their families. Great for practicing informal, everyday English.
The second role play was all about meeting the family, a realistic situation where you're introducing your partner to your parents. That one gave you a chance to hear polite language, family descriptions, and small talk in action.
And we didn't stop there. We also explored some really interesting cultural insights. We looked at how family structures vary around the world, from nuclear families to large extended families.
We talked about the idea of being part of a close-knit family, how people introduce others in English-speaking cultures, and how terms like in-laws work differently across languages and traditions.
Then we moved into our listener Q&A, where we answered Anika's great question about how to describe a family tree in English.
We went through terms like aunts, uncles, cousins, great-grandparents, and even explained maternal versus paternal relatives.
We also talked about in-law relationships, like sister-in-law or father-in-law, and shared examples so you can confidently talk about your family members, whether they're blood relatives or part of your chosen family.
And finally, we gave you a speaking challenge to put it all into practice. Remember, describe 2 people in your family using today's vocabulary and try to use full sentences.
You can find today's transcript, vocabulary list, and a downloadable worksheet in the description.
Thank you so much for spending time with us.
We really hope you enjoyed learning new phrases, exploring family vocabulary, and listening to the role plays.
And remember, the more you speak, the more confident you'll get. Even a few minutes a day helps.
Don't forget to check the episode worksheet for today's vocabulary list, transcript, and speaking challenge.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. It helps more learners like you discover the podcast.
Thanks again for joining us. Take care, keep practicing, and we'll see you next time with a fresh new episode.
Until then, stay curious, stay kind,